Well, folks, thank you for joining the show tonight. We have a good one in store for you. Let's go ahead and meet everybody so you can meet our guest and we can get started with this show. Todd, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm already full of laughs. You guys have no idea, but I'm already laughing hard. So I'm doing great. I appreciate you asking, man.
I appreciate that too, brother. Mr. Paul Marshall.
I'm blessed, man. Happy to be here and excited to go with this show and see what happens.
All right. Audience, I hope you guys are ready. We're going to introduce you to our guest. Great young lady. Entrepreneur, founder, and she's currently in the middle of building a family compound. I'd like you guys to meet Mariah.
Hey guys, happy to be here.
Mariah, snaps.
Yeah.
So Mariah, entrepreneur, founder, and building a family compound.
Yes.
Wow.
A complete journey, a very difficult one for sure.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, we asked about a little bit more about your story. And you mentioned that you're building this for a sustainable generational wealth.
That is the goal. We have a couple of our family members who have come band together to make it happen. And over the 3 years, we've been fighting the good fight and figuring out how to get water sources, solar, fencing, the whole nine.
Wow. That's exactly the kind of answer I was hoping to get, because now I know what to ask. Sustainable generational wealth, family compound. What are some of the benefits and the solutions that are available to someone that's involved in that?
Whew, oh my goodness. First, I always say that we come from communal village systems. So it's already in our code, in our genetics to work together to solve problems. And every family has the same problems. We're all fighting to survive, pay our rent, afford groceries, get our kids to sports on time, be able to take family vacations, invest in the stock market, be able to have freedom to get income property. So being able to band together just helps the pool of effort go further, honestly. So as far as being able to create cash flow, like if we're all banding together, that cash flow it was an easier pursuit rather than one person just trying to establish a business themselves.
Beautiful. It almost reminds me a little bit about, I don't mean to sound like I'm going to pick on a race or anything like that, but when I was growing up, the Asian community used to live together.
Yes.
Families would live together, and then they would eventually, one person would own the home.
Yep.
And then they'd go do it again.
Yep.
And they'd keep doing that until
Yes.
they all owned a home.
Exactly.
And so, is that kind of what you're the model that you're kind of maybe describing?
Yeah, that would be the goal right now. It's everyone's building out their vision. So first is my grandmother, who her vision is an event center. So that is her dream. That is what we are actualizing together. She's the root. She's the reason why, right? Truly. So we are going to actualize her dream, get it cash flowing, and then it would be, mine, which is residential housing. So then we'd build out that to bring in cash flow to the family. Hopefully, we can get more people recruited to come live. But right now we have 5 of us. But we could use all hands on deck. So if you're a cousin, let's go.
I'm starting to get you're starting to paint the picture of what I think this is. Our questioning is going to start now.
Okay.
We're going to do like a round robin where we're firing off a bunch of questions to you.
Okay.
We had asked, what kind of things are you passionate about?
Mm-hmm.
You like to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
You have specific messages you want to share? And you had mentioned that you want to talk about sustainable systems,
Okay.
beating colonization,
Mm-hmm.
Thinking outside the box to bring generational wealth, and then redlining and the facts about Black home ownership. We're going to get into that.
Fire.
Oh my goodness.
Ready?
Eavesdropping.
All right. Let's get this going. So, question number 1. Approaching sustainable systems to beat colonization. And you know what? I do want to maybe back up a little bit. Kind of set the stage here. So I understood a little bit here that because of your answer, this is about 3 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
3 years in the making, founder, family compound, generational wealth, Can you explain what colonization really is, how it happens, and how it still affects communities today?
I'm so passionate about this question, just because we've seen it in so many different cultures, from the Native American culture to the Black culture, just in the past 600 years. When a European, predominantly, culture will come into a society and first and foremost steal their identity, their religion, their language, their traditions, their music, and in that process, make a people lose themselves. After the people lose themselves, they then enslave them, right? Making them work for free. The enslavement process also deteriorates the sense of familial connection. So then people really lose their sense of identity. And so we're talking about, we actually now have a system of how colonization happens, how it damages our people. And so
When you say that, are you saying that you have a peek into maybe a micro macro comparison?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I think for all of us who have ancestors who have, we can, like, as Black Americans, we can, like, actually say, like, our ancestors have gone through colonization. Native Americans, we could say our ancestors have gone through colonization. We actually have these case studies to say, like, our communities have been directly impacted. This is how. This is not emotional. This is science. So we have to think outside the box because of the trauma that has happened to us, similar to how the Jewish community did when they were targeted for colonization, when they were, you know, the horrible things that happened to that culture as well. They thought outside of the box, banded together, and took over the world.
So something that you had described that goes as far back as 600 years, how is it still bleeding into the communities today?
Oh my goodness. Redlining. We actually have hoods and ghettos and traps. It is clear as day. Those communities are infested with drugs. They're infested with EBT. They're infested with police. The attacks that are on those communities specifically, like, we have the data to now show that.
I was just going to say that in a very good deep conversation, you can eventually conclude that it comes from colonization.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It is a byproduct of colonization. 60 years ago, we've only been free truly for 60 years. Civil rights happened in 1965. That's not a lot of time. My grandmother is 75 years old. She experienced the world coming into post-segregation. Segregation is a byproduct of colonization. The traps and ghettos, the war on drugs is a byproduct of colonization. It's just a different phase.
So would you go as far as saying that there's, like, if we could grab like a map, and then the people who are about to colonize the area, they start mapping it out.
Yeah.
You're telling me that there's almost like an intentional placing of areas that they said this is going to be where the traps are, this is going to be where the ghettos are, or am I reading into that too far?
Oh no, 100%, especially with the redlining. It's always going to be next to highways, freeways. They're going to be next to hazardous area dumps. They actually did a study in Los Angeles. There was a huge increase in leukemia in one neighborhood because it was too close to a hazardous dump plant. And it was like all of these Latino and Black children who had leukemia. And I was actually at the council meeting when they were all coming and boycotting, because it's like, you keep putting these hazardous wastes in our neighborhoods. We see that everywhere in Detroit, the water, right? We have these case studies. It's just, we're not talking about it enough. And where it's like, this is intentionally being done, targeted towards these people, you know?
My goodness, how that has the echoes of the movie Aaron Brockovich. Have you seen that?
I have not. I've heard some things though. Tell me.
She is a person. Well, she's a single mom that she's looking for work, and she starts working for a lawyer, and they happen to have a case where people are getting sick from the water,
right?
And they keep just paying off the residents, maybe just little bits here and there.
Yep.
But she then figures out that there's about 500 people that are been affected. And now it's a class action lawsuit. Right. And now it's a movie.
Right. And that's a movie.
You know what I'm saying? And what you just described, I was like, wow, that sounds like that movie a little bit.
Yeah, if you can do me a favor and explain what exactly are sustainable systems,
Okay.
And then the second part of that is how can they be a solution to the problem created by colonization?
I think number one, sustainable systems is family. As hard as it is for us to say we are going to attempt to heal the family and be able to build enterprise because family is a business, number one. So that is the number one system. As difficult, as complicated as that is, because I know we all know family is difficult.
Mhm.
So that's number one. Second would be always having multiple streams of income, land trusts. There's so many things I think that go into the system, but for one, infrastructure. Like our family is coming together intentionally to build infrastructure. So, having a land where we all can come and gather, having investments where we can reap the benefits off of, having a will, having life insurance, like these basic mechanisms that go into modern day survival and progress. Like it's all a part of the sustainability of our system. So
How much of that would you blame the school system for not teaching it? Or is it I know it lands on the parents. Of course, it lands on the parents, but isn't the system hold some responsibility for teaching some of that?
I think the hardest part about the school system is that it is absolutely a part of the
Another
colonization
byproduct.
process.
Interesting.
It was absolutely intentionally designed to teach us a certain part of history, a certain part of science, mathematics. It was not to teach us to band together and to solve problems, right? As soon as we got the opportunity, we should have gotten our cousins, our uncles, our sisters and brothers and went and bought acres and acres of land and fought back as hard as we could have, and then just set up businesses and then generated revenue and went and bought more land. We see other cultures doing that. But I think it's been almost like a secret society where the people who did know how to go and create the systems to get free, they did that. The Asians, the Jewish community, the Russians, while we were in absolute survival. So the school system
Embracing the welfare system.
embracing the welfare system, that's what the school system taught us, was how
Yeah.
to embrace the welfare system, how to prepare for the prison to school pipeline,
Damn.
Mm.
What are some common misconceptions about colonization, and what's the truth behind those misunderstandings?
that this is a repeated process. It has been done before, and this is what we should be learning in school. It should be like, instead of learning about Black history, it should be like, hey, this is a colonization process that happened to every group of indigenous people
Mm.
and is continuing to happen. We see it happening right now in Palestine. We see it happening right now in Sudan, in Congo. It's a continued process. However, we have access to so many tools and resources now where it's like the government's going to do what the government's going to do. However, we are absolutely, it is our responsibility to save ourselves.
let me really throw a curveball at you here. Does colonization, can it be done right?
I would have hope for humanity. It's far, far out there.
Because obviously there's parts of it that are responsible.
Okay.
And so if you start from that premise, you may find yourself maybe picking some points out that are, this is the good side of it, or this is what, if people with a good intention started off with this intention, but this is what it resulted,
Right.
Unfortunately, this is what resulted, but can it be done right? I don't know that answer, but
I would think that it would all, like you said, be based upon the intention. But we have the case studies to know of, like, if the Native Americans were the very first people colonized, what happened? Like, they came in, they befriended them, they took over their land, they started providing them resources. But then when money got involved, greed took over. And it just became about actually taking the land and forcing them onto reservations that still exist today that are literally third world countries. So it could have been done right, but there were so many areas for course correction along the way where now we know at the root it's poison.
Mm.
At the root, it truly is. And so if we were to say, knowing that it's poison, how could we go into a new area, colonize it, and do better? I mean, I think we have some things that we know we could do better. But
So how do sustainable systems challenge the system of colonization?
that's a very good question.
Because like if I can get a compound where I get my own water, I got my own cattle, I got my own grain,
Yep.
I'm now rivaling the system.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, if I'm not growing that myself, or if I still need to venture out to bring it in, I'm still on the system.
That's very true.
So
I love what you
getting
said,
off
though.
the grid.
Yes. I think everyone should go get land. I think that would be our absolute revolution, would be like, okay, well, forget this. I know we have nice, small, lots where we're in quaint, quiet neighborhoods where we're safe. But I think like the most revolutionary thing we could do would be like, fuck it. Let's all go buy land. It doesn't have to be, even if it's not your family, I'm going to bring my homeboy with me and his family.
That's powerful.
Right? The wives are going to garden. Like we'll grow the food, teach the kids, like going off of the system and finding ways to sustain ourselves. Here in America, I think is going to become basic infrastructure.
Yeah. I think we're going the way the world's going. We're soon going to see some what we would call sophisticated systems crash that we can't rely on anymore. And then what?
Well, Mariah, I appreciate you, answering these questions, and these are sometimes could be difficult questions, but I think you're doing really good.
Thank you.
By the way, you're handling
difficult.
These questions very well.
I love these questions, though.
Girl, so these are I love what the show we put together for Mariah was awesome. But how can local community driven models like agriculture or businesses help communities regain control and resist the impact of colonization?
Oh my goodness, everyone needs to. If you have a drive, you should absolutely be getting involved in politics on a local level. At the local level is the most important.
She's right.
I had the opportunity at 26 to become the city planning commissioner, and that taught me a master's degree level of land planning, of community development, of the behind the scenes of all of the politics that really go into any development, from a solar farm to a manufacturing plant to a residential housing to a cannabis park. Like, it is 50% politics, 50% their code, their law.
Wow.
But yeah, I say it would be number one, really getting involved into the politics for sure in your city, because if you are going to be involved in the plan, what goes into your communities, what goes into your schools, and then what you want to see built in your community. Do you need a new rec center? Do you need a new park? Do you need new zoning specifically for family compounds so that we could attract this new industry and sustainable way of living?
Man, how
I told you, Ruben.
yeah.
I told you.
So
Go ahead.
So city councilmen play a big picture.
Huge. I would say Army, then city council was like the two experience that was like a quantum leap of like, oh nah, this shit is real. This is the Matrix. You have no choice but to figure it out, how to solve these problems. But then again, the city council for sure taught me a masterclass in how to.
That's huge. Got to play ball.
Wait, I have a really silly question here. How much of the percentage do not know what you stumbled across?
I would say 95.
I knew she was going to say high 90s. It had to be.
That's great.
And she's probably giving us grace by
Imagine
saying
that
95.
95% of the public blind and deaf and ignorant.
I'd say 100.
No, we got 98 for sure.
I mean, there's not too many people that know
Man,
you
but
just
because
expressed. That's crazy.
it's what she described.
That's crazy.
She said that she went to go work for this position and
Yeah.
she learned all that
Yeah.
there. And that's usually how
That is the
people get
master class,
exposed
'cause you're
Oh,
in it.
yeah.
things like that. You know,
Those
it's
people
like,
got masters to be where they're at, and she's right alongside them. All right, so let me hit you with this question, Mariah. What are some practical steps communities can take to build sustainable systems, and what would a decolonized economy look like in action?
Ooh, because I'm living in it, I think a family compound is a solution. Now, we call it a family compound, but again, I think it's just a collection of people coming together to create intergenerational living, cash flow together, appreciate land value. And we can do that simply. Like it could be 5 acres, it could be 10 acres, it could be 20, and then every year that land's going to appreciate. You're growing your land bank. You take that, you invest into the stock market, you put it into a life insurance, you put it into a trust, a will, you get a HELOC on the home. Like these are all tools and resources of like how we establish wealth, and then rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat again. And so now your friend group creates this microeconomy. That microeconomy grows as the relationship grows, as the knowledge grows, as the land appreciates. Then you're able to make more moves within the system, but you're not dependent upon it. Right now, we're all completely dependent upon the system for everything: food, medicine, education, water, electric. Like at some point,
by design,
it will crumble, it will fall. And if we're not prepared to resustain our next generation, then we crumble with it.
It's very interesting that I hear Kanye West talk about building, civilization, a new civilization that's more forward, kind of like what you're talking about. And I hear Drake talk about building a compound. And so I think that there are people that reference this lifestyle, but I don't think they go too deep into it by talking about it.
Right.
Same thing with Nipsey. Nipsey talked about Vector and all that stuff that he had by his store, building a community. And I think we got to wake up, because there can be a time where we just become subject to whatever else or what everybody else makes, and we're just a part of that. And next thing you know, this community that we're in is not really good for us because they've been lying to us the whole time.
Yeah. We switch into consumerism, and the things that we consume actually become our poison.
Yeah.
So how can we think outside the box to bring generational wealth to our families is the topic. What are some unconventional methods of building wealth that you believe have the biggest impact on long-term family prosperity?
Right now, my family does a 3 times a week weekly call, where it's at least 30 of us, and then on Saturdays, at least 100 of us who come together and just review our mission, our goals, and then we learn and grow together. We have presentations. Yesterday was about macroeconomics. I think number one is like, again, reacculturating. So like really building wealth. Number one is understanding that we have little militias. Like,
yeah.
And
tribalism is happening.
Yes. Yeah. And it has to, because if individualism is the virus, that is really what it is like the more that we get separated from our brothers, from our sisters, from our moms and dads, the weaker we are, like, and we're all fighting to survive in these individual units. So I think number one, wealth is, again, bringing the family back together. So that call that we do, I think, is like the most amazing thing and experience that I've been able to witness over the past 6 years, because we've consistently been doing this for 6 years. And so I say, like, I'm a byproduct of that, right? Like, I've been a part of this and seeing this Black family coming together, having these calls under this structure, under this organization, taking a family vacation every year. And I was inspired to be like, oh, okay, this is how I want to solve a problem and help bring value to this unit. Again, buying land. Like, I think land would be the next most hugest thing.
It seems like you're mobilizing and thinking like people of 100 years ago.
We have to.
You're mobilizing and thinking that way. And I would say the 100 people on that call are thinking that way as well.
Yeah. I love everyone, because we do go at a slower pace.
Yeah.
because there's so many of us that are having to learn stocks for the first time, credit for the first time, bank accounts, life insurance. Like, we're literally learning all of these things. But then we have a leadership call where, again, it's like 30 of us. And then that 30, for sure, we're all thinking like we have no choice but to bring our entire family with us. And those 30 have their own families, right? Like, I have 4 little sisters. In my family, there's a whole 75 of us that are like cousins that are in their 30s and 40s. And so each one of those have units that we're like in charge of carrying forward and organizing. So yeah, we are.
Just real quick, T, before you go.
You got it.
Just a silly comparison using a movie, the movie Legend with Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
When the humans that had found and formed an area where there was safety, that's a compound, right?
Oh wow. Mm-hmm.
It's like a village compound,
Yep,
right?
mhm.
That they eventually have to come together,
Yep.
build the borders to protect themselves,
Mhm.
and then bring in the things so that they're going to help them, with the resources.
Yep.
And then also wouldn't the zombie movie, the zombie series is something like that, where you have quite a few groups of people building compounds.
Mm-hmm.
So I hated to have to equate a serious topic like, sustainable growth compounds and family compounds with movies, but that's kind of where we've seen those examples.
Yeah, that's so
Mhm.
true. And it's always an end of the world situations. However, I
Yeah.
think in the book of Revelations, which we are actually living right now, all of these things that are actually happening are end of the world type things,
Correct.
and we're living in the future. Like 2025, we're living in the future right now. So yeah, I think those are all referencing right now.
Yeah.
For sure.
Wow. What are the most critical first steps families should take when thinking about wealth building for future generations?
Definitely establishing a weekly call. You think it might not take that, but to get your
Mm.
family aligned and to learn to break the communication barriers that we've already been taught that have been encoded in us to actually build culture within our families, that would be the absolute thing. If you can do that consistently for 3 months, I would set a goal, First, the calls are just getting to know each other, icebreakers, establishing mission, visions, throwing out ideas and just visioning together, making sure you have that space where you can get on the same wavelength. And then if you can be consistent in that alone, because sometimes that alone is a feat. Like, I know I've been trying to get some of my cousins together for some years now. I would establish a goal, maybe it's we do a small amount into Bitcoin every single month. We're just going to start a Bitcoin treasury. You give $100, I give $100. Maybe it's into the stock market. Maybe it's everybody committing to getting their credit to 800 credit scores.
You know what I saw, and I might be wrong, but we'll see. I saw this. We are so broken as a society and as families that we have to be taught to talk
And to
Yeah.
come together
again.
To come
Yeah.
together.
We have
Like
to
when
be
you
better.
say band, because I'm in the heavy construction business, and so when we bring things to the yard or we bring things to work, they have to be banded together to show that they're tight, they're in unison, they're together,
Mhm.
and they're going to stay strong. And that's the same thing of
Yep.
what you're doing with your family and building these infrastructures.
Yeah, and the wildest part is actually understanding that it took us a year just to have like a culture, like truly know like what to talk about outside of sports, because we could talk about sports all day.
Yeah.
That's how broken we are as a society. This is just coming to me as I'm hearing your talk.
Indoctrination, but what I'm also hearing is accountability and unlearning to relearn.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can we break away from traditional get a job, save money, buy a house mentality to truly build wealth?
I think one of the hardest realizations is everybody can't go. So aligning with anyone who shares in your vision to break away, and then you guys determining together what that looks like. Because I see a huge trend too of people going and moving outside of the USA when I'm like, yo, that is breaking away.
Yeah.
Like, they're actually living these really nice lives in Mexico City, in Costa Rica, in Ghana, in Italy. Like, they're literally picking up and just moving their families and living peaceful, healthy lives. So,
Yeah,
you
shout
know,
out to Teflon. I got a buddy. He's in London right now. Doing
right,
exactly that.
exactly.
And working online at home.
Mm-hmm. So really just aligning with other people and then you determining what that looks like. I know for me and my family, it's making sure we have a base here. And for me, it was very important that it's California because we have so many of our families fleeing California. So I wanted to make sure that we set the intention of like, no, we're Californians.
Right.
Like,
Get that.
we're going to have a base here. Now we can go other places, but our unit will have a legacy here.
I
So
hear that.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
What are some creative ways that the communities can pool their resources together to create wealth benefits? And let me suggest one, because I was going to throw this out earlier, because it almost sounds like there's bits and pieces of, remember the saving circle that we used to be a
Yes.
part of when we were younger?
Mhm.
Like we all, like they say, it was 10 of us. We all pitched in $100,
Yep.
and we all had to do that once a week. But once a week, somebody got the 1,000,
Yep.
and then but you had to pitch in that $100 until it became your turn.
Yes.
Then when it was your turn,
exactly.
you
It's
got
like
the 1,000. You were able to
Sudoku.
make some moves because you had
Mhm.
$1,000 rather than just that 100.
Yeah.
Some of the ideas and the model of building this up comes from that. Some of that, right?
Mhm.
I thought so. It sounds like it.
Awesome. Yeah,
That's what
no,
it sounds like.
that's
Yeah.
we actually had a family call and they were explaining this and it was like came from some village too. I don't remember the details of it, but yeah, exactly what you're saying.
Wisdom circles.
Mm-hmm.
wisdom circles.
Wisdom circles, yes. Um, we are hustlers at heart, so I know to even begin this, like, how do we get the compound? Like, me and my grandma started flipping mobile homes, like nitty gritty. There was a lot of crazy stuff in the mobile homes.
That's funny.
Hoarder
Yeah.
in infested drug communities, you know, having hazmat people having to come clear all types of stuff. So, like, we started just by learning to make money together of like some really grimy things.
Wow.
Like, you know, like, hey, let's get our hands dirty in the beginning. Let's create value together. And that taught us a lot about each other. It taught us a lot. And then on the next project, we went to our family and said, hey, would love if you would invest 2,000. I know. We will make sure you get your money back. It's just a small ask. We'll double your money. And so, as humbling as that was for us to do the nitty gritty work, it built trust, it built relationship where we were able to double their money. Everyone was able to see this crazy transition of this hoarder house to this really nice looking mobile home. And we grew together. So we did that repeatedly. And I think those just, again, that hustle taught us what we needed to about each other. And then we had enough to go and put, you know, a payment on a ranch and just keep building together. So I always think just really boots on the ground, just getting after it, like together, truly.
I love how you move.
It's huge.
It's awesome. How do you respond to people who say wealth building is impossible without access to large amounts of capital or inheritance?
You got to be scrappy.
Mm.
Like, the most important thing is to be resilient, to know that there is a way. And I think there's different seasons where like that hustler's heart has to just come out and just shine. We could give each other as many excuses as we possibly want, but at the root of it, there are opportunities out there that people are seizing. And it may be, you know, like I always think like we really started off with a hoarder's trailer. You know, so it's like if we start there and just keep building, I believe other people can find opportunities like that and go get it. So we just got to be creative and we have to work together, because if we all were to leverage our 750 credit score, we could get a larger loan. You know, we might be uncomfortable for 2 years living together, but what could we do after that? You know, so we just have to be creative in our thinking. It is possible though.
You know, you don't mind me saying this really quick. I've seen your growth, and which has been incredible on your Instagram page. Your son looks like he's having an incredible time.
Yes,
He's growing as a young boy out there, just living the life on this big ranch. You got pets out there, huge dogs,
That's cool.
protecting the family, and you're creating your own oasis in which
Yes,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
I
lit.
appreciate it.
So in your experience, how does mindset and family culture play a role in shaping wealth over generations?
Ooh, It's the hardest part. I'm going to be honest. Again, when we say family compound, we're talking family. That don't mean that my family just got it all together. You know,
Yeah.
like we grind through some really tough conversation. I could cry. It's the toughest thing. I mean, it honestly is very, very difficult to do business with family, but also to try to thrive with family. So family culture is everything, and we have to redefine what that is almost every day. Like, okay, we're going to push past this because errors happen. Like errors happen, challenges happen. We have to constantly overcome. So actually choosing in life to not overcome alone, and these are the people I'm going to overcome, is like has to be embedded in your culture. But it's everything.
Can I add a tag onto that question? Do these family meetings that you guys have, the calls, does it help shape the ones who may not have had that mindset? Does it help shape their mindsets to believe?
What? The culture is being developed in real time. And that's what I love the most about, and that's why I'm committed, right? Because we've had our ups and downs, right? But it's still like, oh no, I'm committed to this because there are 70-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 10-year-olds being shaped by how our family is communicating, how we're solving problems together, like who we are redefining ourselves as. Because again, all of us coming in there have our stories. Like we have our family trauma. We got us like, everybody always say, oh, that couldn't be my family. No, we say the same thing. It shouldn't be us either. But we choose to redefine like what our culture is. So yeah, I think it's everything.
Sounds like the family is the corporation. The family is the entity because you guys are repairing, you guys are fixing, you guys are okay. Well, we need to do this and do that and critique this. And yeah, that's awesome.
They say a family can survive without a nation, but a nation cannot survive without the family. What is your opinion about one of the things that they sell here in the United States? They sell the American dream, but the other thing that they sell is when you're 18, you're off on your own, separating you from your family, building you up from a very early teenage year to start planning on separating yourself from your own family. And then you guys are fighting totally against that right now. You're trying to bring family together, whereas the country we live in is teaching from a very early age that as soon as you turn legal age, you need to leave. You need to leave everybody and go do alone. What do you think about that?
I think that is so dysfunctional, especially in today's society, because I don't know if 18 years is truly enough to raise a man or raise a woman. I think there's, of course, a lot of life experiences that come into like help mature us, help grow us. But we as a family, like we are the organization, we are the unit. One thing we always say is we should not be going outside of our family for anything. Like everything we truly need is within our family. You need a nurse, Cousin Candy. Cousin Candy's a nurse. You're sick? Okay, Cousin Candy's, she's going to do her rounds, you know? So, oh, you need a hairstylist, Cousin Bridget, you know? Oh, you need a basketball trainer for your son, Uncle Brian. So it's really like we have these micro economies within our families, but we're getting so broken through each generation and through more trauma that's being targeted to us that we're going further and further away from the family unit. So I think like keeping the children and raising the children up in the family business, in the environment, is critical to like the next generations.
You know who I think about when we're talking about all this is, you know who has to be really, really good at this? Really good at this are the Amish.
Right. I love that. Yes, right? Exactly.
Should resilient. Do they not have a model, a yes, playbook? They got to have a playbook.
Yeah.
They do.
Yes, they do.
Big time.
I think about Moana.
Oh, I love
They're on an island and they're building everything from scratch. They're teaching their family everything. They go to the underground cave. They see all the ships and all this stuff. And I'm like, damn, she's talking Moana right now.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite Disney movie.
All right. Wow. Hey, guys, I really hope you guys are enjoying this show because we got some information that you probably ain't come across in a while. All right. We're going to keep going to history and redlining. The facts about Black home ownership over the past 20 years. Question number 1. What is redlining?
Redlining is when the government went into the actual maps of these communities and put a line and said, this is where we will allow Black people to be able to get home loans. This is where we will allow Hispanic people to be able to get home loans. This is where we will allow Asian communities. We see that very clearly here in LA, as we could drive through and see little Persia, little Tokyo, little China, little
Tokyo.
I've never heard
So
this.
accurate though.
I've
Yeah.
never heard this.
Little Italy.
little
everything.
Italy.
Little Saigon,
Yep.
Koreatown.
I've never heard
Yep.
You've never noticed that?
I've noticed it.
If you went to Chinatown, you're not going to see somebody from
Or-
South Central in Chinatown.
correct, but when you actually hear
They play some
somebody explain the definition of redlining, the government, when they would redline, I was like, oh
Yes.
my God.
Yeah.
But while they're planning these master cities, they're literally only giving loans to these groups of people. So when you think of Compton and Inglewood, that's the only place where we could get home loans. But that goes everywhere.
super deep, bro.
That goes everywhere. So when I was taking the planning commission class, we had to take a month class. We had so much coursework on redlining. I was like, oh, this is the craziest thing. People need to hear this.
She's waking the people up. Shut them down, Jim.
People
Shut them
need
down.
to see this. It's 2025 and we still are having regulations about them not having racist zoning.
Really, they're finding out.
Who invited them to the meeting?
Don't give them any more Earl Grey tea. No.
Exactly.
Man, all right.
Wow.
No, that so when Dre said, "Don't let those palm trees fool you in the hood," that
Mhm.
meant like those
meant
palm trees
that.
means you're in the hood. Don't be fooled.
Don't be
You're
fooled.
still in the
You're
hood,
still
bro.
in the hood.
So in your
That's
in your experience, because I mean you've been doing it all, and it just seems amazing. In the past 20 years, have there been significant changes in Black ownership rates, or do systemic barriers still prevent meaningful progress?
Oh, well, I mean, I know there is a prediction that there will be 0% Black wealth by 2050. That's a very real thing. And that equates to our loss of land.
Mm.
Huge reason of that is the loss of land. Land is one of the number one mechanisms to gain wealth. And we lose the land, we lose the access to wealth. We lose our farms, we lose our income properties. So yeah, I think redlining it has changed over the past 20 years. More so that gentrification has now taken place, where the places that were once redlined for these communities have now been replaced with international
Hip
investment
coffee
dollars.
shops and
Yep.
yeah.
Can I touch on that?
Yeah.
So I do Uber part time.
Mhm.
I picked up a firefighter. He's a Yamava firefighter, and crazy enough, he said that the land that the natives think they own, they really don't.
Mhm.
So they own the rights to live and build, but deeper than that, if there is any goods like any kind of like oil, any
Mineral
kind of
rights.
minerals, they don't own those
Overridden.
rights. Yeah,
They get overridden.
the United States owns it, and I was like, so technically they don't really own the land.
It's technically how we don't own anything either.
He was
Right,
like, yeah, he was
Still
like,
paying
yeah.
property taxes.
He said they're borrowing it. They're just here. I was like, damn. So
That's
it
how
kind
they
of
did it. Yeah.
touches what you're saying.
Yeah, that's wild. Actually, they have those reservations in the Midwest, and there'll be thousands and thousands of acres, but they just did all the drilling,
Yep.
through all of them, because they did the same thing. They're like, hey, we decided that we gave you this land, but
Yep. If I need
none
to
of the
if you
value
need to come get
that's-
that oil, we're
Yep.
gonna
Like
come
this.
get it.
yep.
Open the gate. Open the fucking gate.
Oh man. Hey, is it on me?
It's on you.
How does gentrification impact Black families and their ability to own homes, especially in urban neighborhoods?
I know we have actual data on this as well, is that appreciation of the home value, whereas a normal home may appreciate 5% year over year, they may only allow a home in a Black neighborhood to appreciate 2.5.
I believe that.
Where they're actually not allowing the home to gain its bank value, which is tied into the integrated system, right? And so therefore they're already acquiring wealth slower.
Mm.
So that's a huge way. So then when gentrification happens, it's like, okay, we just had, that's true. I mean, it's not race-based. This is true. We just had a whole new element move into the neighborhood. This home is valued at $650,000 now. You know, this is actual real. And in real estate law, because they make you test for all of this to say, like, you are not able to do this anymore. They make you go through classes because this is a real thing
Right.
that they're fighting against.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, this has been how it's been. So people are having to, like you said, unlearn these practices. Counties and cities are having to unlearn something that's just been natural to them for so many generations.
This information that you possess, do you attribute it to your city job? Like, did it all start there? That opened the door for you to start poking your nose around things that you're like, I never would have thought to poke it here, but I'm gonna poke it here now.
My dad is
Oh.
my wisdom bearer for
Okay.
sure. My dad is he's a college football coach.
Okay.
And so I always say I was definitely raised, I'm the oldest girl, but I was raised as a wide receiver.
I was like, go dig, get out there.
I was raised as a wide receiver.
You
That's
understand
funny.
football.
I love football. Yes, I absolutely understand and love football.
Pops got you
Absolutely.
tough early.
Yeah, he got me
Pops.
tough early. That's what I'm saying. But, you know, instead of being able to play football on the field, I had to play in the game of life. So, yeah, I think key number one was my wisdom bearer who opened the door for me. And then my own hunger, just, you know, the military and then the city planning commission. And I've had the opportunity to work for a family office. And, you know, those experiences were just like, oh, shit. Again, this is the matrix. And like, we
Right.
actually have to like break free.
You're not on a regular mission. You're uncovering so much stuff
Yeah.
and probably trying to stay level headed. Like, I need to go do this,
Right.
but I can't believe I'm still thinking about what the hell I just found over here.
Right. That's why, you know, we do have that mother. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were in the
That
military?
can
You were in the military?
Yeah.
I was in the
How
military.
many years you do?
7 in and out. Whew.
Air Force, Army,
Yes.
Air Force,
Army.
Marine, Army.
Ooh.
Army.
Army.
Damn, that's dope. You do any tours?
You know what? I was called to do tours, but I was great at maneuvering. And so I'm just very respectful for all my battle buddies who have gone. They have fight. I was able to not have to go.
That's huge though. Did you? Okay, so let me ask you this, since we're talking about it. You have to test, right? Do they make you do a test and then they place you based on how you test? Is that
Yeah,
true?
your ASVAB. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So based on the score, they give you choices, or do they tell you what you're gonna do?
No, they basically depends how high you test. If you test high enough, then they'll give you a choice of like 2 jobs that they recommend you for. But if you only test at a certain level, they're literally handpicking your job for you.
What did you enjoy the most?
Ooh, what? And the military?
Yeah.
The military taught me so much discipline. The military taught me the system. Again, a master's degree, but about the United States of America. Like, that is a business. That is an organization.
Yeah.
And I was in logistics. So I was always next to the captain, always next to the equipment coming in, just always seeing the business side of the military, right?
Yeah.
The paperwork, the administration, the HR. So it's a huge organization. And I equate learning about how it works, how it operates, and then just like real discipline. For sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think our dollar is backed by the military. If it wasn't for our
Right.
military, we wouldn't have our dollar.
Scaring people into accepting it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Circling it back to the question about the home ownership, what can real estate industry do to make it easier for Black families to achieve more home ownership?
I mean, reparations has been a talk for so many years. We've seen reparations in case studies, again, given to different groups of people. So the real estate industry could make a reparations grant. It doesn't even need to be us going and just being given our 40 acres. Just give us opportunity at a federally backed grant dollar to buy land. Land that has potential of growing, land that has potential of industry enterprise near cities and enterprises. Also, I think just education, like letting people know that it's how they would be able to create value on the land. I think are some things the real estate industry could do for sure.
Do you understand crypto a little bit?
Yeah, I love crypto.
Okay, you understand. Okay,
Mhm.
so then if I say decentralized, you know immediately what that means, right?
Mhm,
Decentralized,
yes.
centralized.
Hmm.
So decentralized. When you understand decentralization and centralization, would you say that the real estate industry and the system operate in that way where it's decentralized? You don't know who to go to point the finger to and hold responsible.
100%. I think it's the most complex, hoodwinked process ever trying to get free here in America. There's just so many different barriers. Like if we try to turn to medical, we're beat there. If we try to turn to education, we're beat there. If we try to turn to real estate, we're beat there. Investments, we're beat there. So many things, absolutely. So we have to free ourselves through everything decentralized.
What can local governments or financial institutions do to repair damage caused by redlining? And is there a way to create restorative justice in the housing policies?
That's a really great question. After 10 years of like really being working within the government, like being a product of the government, I don't believe them anymore. I don't think they would ever do anything. It would actually take us getting into those city council seats, becoming the government. That is the only way. But to think that we'll go sit in the audience in a council meeting and talk to the talking head, they will do nothing. So it will completely be the action of us. And I think the more we can be really clear about that, the more we can start to see some forward progress. But the government will do nothing. We would have to come in those roles to then put in place the policies for restorative justice and decide what that looks like. So
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah. What are some steps that individuals and families can take to protect themselves from ongoing systemic housing discriminations today?
family compound, going and buying land, buying a farm, and then absolutely being dedicated to not selling that, putting it into a land trust for 300 years and letting everybody know that we got rules and regulations. And if you try to sell this land, Uncle Jimmy got the bloodline of the big ones that's going to come jump you.
You can do that? A 300?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do a 300-year trust and have rules and regulations and then hire like law firms to help you just manage and maintain it for generations.
Wow. Hence,
did not know
Disneyland owns the property, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going nowhere.
Yeah, they're
Wow,
not
wow,
going
wow.
nowhere, but they're, I heard it's British though.
Oh, okay.
Do you believe in any conspiracies?
What? I believe in so many conspiracies.
That's so cool.
Which one?
I love it. I love it. All right. What's one that you just recently thought about?
One that I recently thought about.
Okay, share one that you think
daily.
would impress us to be like, oh yeah, they don't know about this.
Well, I mean, we were just kind of chatting about it before we came in, but that like there's truly underground bases that literally have entire functions, societies, communities that live and exist and like live in the future. I feel like that was one conspiracy we were talking about. And that's why like a lot of rich people right now are building bunkers. Like they're starting to understand that there's going to come a time where we may have to be prepared to live underground, which is so terrifying.
Right. Until you go underground and see, it's like, oh shit, it's just like being outside.
Is it? You think so?
Yeah, because you know, just imagine going into what hotel that is that in Vegas? You walk in, you be like, damn, this shit look like it's daytime.
Oh, you talking about Caesar's Palace?
You walk into
That's the sky.
Yeah, that's true.
A couple of drinks, you're like, I'm cool
I
in
don't
here.
think you would,
Yeah,
I don't
right.
think you would care, to be honest.
Go outside.
You got all that space. I don't think you'd probably.
Moon landing, flat Earth, reptilians,
Aliens.
aliens.
Oh my goodness, the amount of activity that is in the sky.
Oh,
We are absolutely under observation.
okay.
100%.
That leads me right into my next one, which is unusual stories. You have some ranch stories.
Oh, some scary ones, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Is it an alien one?
Oh, for an alien one?
or any.
Everyone keeps trying to tell me that it's just Starlink and it's just Elon Musk playing in the sky. But the fact that human beings like just sum up all of this stuff, like I be posting crazy things happening in the sky, like freaking out. Like it's more than just rockets. Like there be
Orbs.
Orbs. I broke my phone one time. I was trying to film the orb and it was this huge, huge, huge satellite looking thing that just zoomed into the sky. Like it was faster than the speed of light. And I saw it coming from the distance where I was like, what the fuck is that? So I slammed on my brakes to try to like capture this with my phone because I was like, no one's going to believe me. But it was significant. And then my phone flew and broke. And so I just equate that to, it was just like, you know what? It's one of those experiences where it's like, this is going to happen again, but that one's just for you.
That's crazy.
But it was a very large looking satellite orb that, I mean, it was huge. It was huge, way bigger than a plane. And it took up the whole sky, it literally took up the sun. And it was right over the Air Force Base.
Wow. And how big is your compound?
It is 40 acres.
40 acres. And how close is your nearest neighbor?
2 miles away.
Okay.
Yeah, they're about 2 miles away. I can see
at least
them.
40 acres.
Right.
I can see them.
Right. And so you got some ranch stories.
I do.
I was in New Mexico for a while, and I met some folks that were from some tribes, and they talk about skinwalkers.
Oh, what is that?
Oh, okay. Then all right.
It's nothing scary. I hope.
They're people.
Skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers. That's what I'm saying. I don't be scared of it.
Folks, look it up.
Do you not have walkers?
Skinwalkers.
Listen, if you walk 10 feet away from the house, it is pitch dark.
Oh my God.
So for the first year, I did not go outside. I want you to know, after 8 o'clock, hell no. It took me a year to become brave enough to go outside. And then I just challenged myself. I said, walk to the gate in the dark, Mariah. You got this. My dog, he was big enough now, so I felt a little, afraid. But it took me a year to just be able to walk in the dark.
This is gonna be a crazy comment. Didn't you experience that in bivouac though?
Like, I had guns.
Lights. Okay.
Yeah, I had M16 with me at all time. If I ever had in the military had to do a drill in the middle of nowhere, I had an M16 with me. I felt way more confident.
So bivouac is going out and living on the land with your backpack.
Wow.
It was awful.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Those were the days that I did think I was going to mentally break. Where we had to, and it was a week.
Yeah.
We had a week we had to do it. And I was like, this is not possible. But then it grew. We had to do a whole month. Like it grew. But we had women privilege. So we did get to go take 2 showers.
Women privilege.
Yeah, to take
cool.
2 showers.
Right on. Any other story you want to share about ranch?
I guess just like the scariest one would be like our second day living there, someone tried to break in.
Really?
I thought it was like a clan initiation, honestly, because it was just the craziest fucking experience. We were hiking. I had just me and my son and his cousin. We had saw like the ambulance up ahead, and so I was like, "Oh, we need to get inside." It's our second day there, so I was like, "I don't know, just run inside." But the street's probably like a mile away. As soon as we go inside, all of a sudden I hear a boom, boom on the front door. And there was this tall ass dude with blood covering his face. And he was peering into the window of the door, banging like this. And you could imagine. I was tripping.
You turn white.
I turned white. I was like skinwalkers, basically. Like, this is a zombie apocalypse takeover.
Might have been a meth head.
It was.
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad.
Was running from that lab.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That was a very humbling first experience, and then just seeing how the police dealt with it too, where they're just like, do you have a weapon? What do you mean you're out there? You're on your own. Like, you should have a weapon. Mm-hmm. So it was that first of like, oh no, if we're out here and, me calling my dad after and him being like, well, welcome to Yellowstone, baby girl. And it's just like, this is not a movie. But yeah, it was.
Right on. So some philosophical and some wisdom stuff here. How do you understand that family is everything?
Ooh. Oh my gosh. Just the commitment to living love out loud. Like, that is everything I do is for my family. Everything I live for, it's like experiencing life with them and making sure that the higher that I go, as tough as it is, I bring as many of them I can with me, or I ensure that they have these similar experiences that inspired me on my path. I'm committed to that.
What's your love languages?
Business.
Mm.
Business is my love language for sure.
She said it ain't in the
Business.
book. Yeah, she said the shit ain't in the book. Business.
Business is
So let them know, yes, it's not no gifts, it's not no touch,
it's
it's business. So talk to me nice.
Okay,
that's cool.
So this next one, explain navigating communication and breaking barriers that we systemically have in our family.
Whoa. I always say, like, we all have an idea of the types of problems that we go through. Like, I've lost an uncle to fentanyl, so like the types of barriers that we're talking about breaking are like really deeply rooted things, right? Like, we're talking drug addiction, we're talking abuse, alcoholism, mental health. So the clarity and just like assessing like what these things are and really saying like, damn, this is some real shit. Like, if because it's extraordinary problem, it's going to take an extraordinary effort. And I think a lot of families, at the root of it, we haven't wrote down a mission statement. So it's just like, I could go to my son today and I'd be like, what's our mission statement? Be like, I don't know. And I'd be like, damn, we worked on this 100 times to prepare for this moment. But at the root of it, like, do we have family goals? Like, are we actually putting down on paper the things that we're trying to heal and grow from, like, as a family? And if we have a family playbook, then maybe we have a shot. But if it's just like things that we talk about once a year, of course, 100 years, we're still having the same problem. So.
Yeah. And I think what maybe shoots to the top of the list is mental health, because people, they get into trauma, people that have low education, people that have that are violent, and emotional. Oh man, talk about when the mind decides it wants to now wake up.
Yeah.
And if you don't have control over that, you can't even have a good conversation, steady conversation.
And the hard thing about like the control is just like it's almost more self-care than anything. Like, it's us actually learning that we're not dealing with normal things. This is actually really hard. This is not easy. And we need to take extraordinary care of ourselves. And that looks like having outlets, having vacations, having complete times where I can turn off, where I don't have to feel the pressure of taking care of a family or taking care of kids. Like, I feel like all that's
not being enslaved by the system.
And not being enslaved by the system.
So you say people should be asking more in life about the decisions they make today because it impacts the next generation, right? So my question is, what do you need to be taken into consideration to make that mean something? My decisions today impact the next generation. What am I taking into consideration for that to mean something?
What you want your children's future to look like, who you want your children to have the access to become. Because now, I mean, we've all seen it. There's people who have different access to different things and they go farther and their life's easier, calmer, healthier, So I think at the root of it would be like, what do I want my child to have access to?
I like that. Why is what we're doing now not working as a culture?
Because we're doing what we are told. And what we were told over the past 400 years has been very traumatic to every sense of our identity, our religion. This is, I can talk about it. This is not our religion. This was the religion that was told to us and that was beaten into us. You know, it took a long time. The language, the music is awful. I don't know if you guys listen to music lately, but it is
It's
like,
terrible.
this is what we're programming into our minds?
About killing.
Drill music.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Our food.
Frequencies and vibration.
Frequencies and vibrations.
They clone Tyrone.
They clone Tyrone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wait, you gonna talk about food?
Mm-hmm.
So you know about the codes?
Oh my gosh, all of these chemicals that are in the food that are causing different types of cancer. We didn't have all these types of cancer. We have, 100 different types of cancer now?
Yeah.
And it's not just our foods, it's in our products that we're buying. So
Water.
it's what? Right.
Oh, there's a
Hey, I didn't say nothing about water.
This is
I can go deep.
yes, right. Exactly.
Don't get me started
Wow.
on water. Okay?
So, like, at the root of it, is that how uncomfortable is it for us to actually say everything that's being fed to us is poison?
Yeah.
So we're starting from scratch. So that should excite us. Like, we should get excited, be like, we get to start over with civilization. How do we want to do this?
but honestly, I can see that in the way that you have developed the 40 acres and the time that you put into it, the emphasis in, being sustainable out there, so I think that's encouraging for the future.
Yeah.
And so for the future generations of your son and then, grandkids, he's going to show, your grandkids something really special. So.
Yes, that is what I pray. That's what I was always like, I got about 5 more I need to push out so I can make sure I have a basketball team.
She said,
Help
keep it
keep
going.
building.
How many
for
do you
sure.
have right now?
1.
You want 4 more?
Yep, need 4 more because we got a lot of work to do.
Hope you guys are eavesdropping.
Paul's like, okay.
4
But I
more.
will say we've only developed 5 acres. So the rest is just raw land. Like,
And that's
very,
okay. That's like stay off my
very
property
humbling.
type,
And that has taken an extraordinary effort that has left many days just in tears. And yeah.
wow. All right. Switching gears to a question that asks you to describe yourself in 3 words. And you said visionary, loving, and executor.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Those are really good.
Thank you.
I don't necessarily know about the loving
Yeah,
because
me neither.
we haven't seen, you
Yeah.
being all lovey-dovey and
I
all
was gonna
that.
say replace that with business. Yeah.
But visionary and executor?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think with the love, I think the love is for the family.
Oh,
I think the love is for the family and making sure, grandma as the root.
we're hearing
Yeah.
and not seeing it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the family love.
Yeah.
She said
yeah.
business.
Reserved. Yep, it's
She
reserved.
said talk to
for
me nice.
family.
I'm about
So you want how many millions in the NBA? How tall you want them to be?
Tell me about a book or a quote that you like that basically it's whatever the mind of man believes he can achieve. Is that a book or a quote?
Napoleon Hill, but I think he's still isn't
As a
Napoleon
man
Hill,
thinketh.
As a man thinketh.
As a man thinketh.
Whatever the
yeah.
mind of man believes he
Yeah.
can achieve.
Absolutely. And then also our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure, and it's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us.
okay. Good.
Coach Carter.
Yeah.
Coach Carter. It was always my favorite movie, just seeing how resilient the team had to be and what they had to go through. And so that quote's always stuck out.
Shout out Twan. He was in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do me a favor, Senorita, and give us like a proper introduction or any other type of announcement you want to make about the Redemption Acre Ranch and your family compound or events you'd like to promote. So.
Yes, we are so excited. We are going to be hosting an annual retreat where we are going to be focusing on developing a super mind, a business family masterclass where you can come learn some of the basics on how to put together a family meeting, a family investment project, and just learn the basics of how we were able to go and get started with this project. So would love for you guys to check it out.
Wow. Wow.
It's huge.
Can you let us know where we can maybe see some of this footage, videos, pictures of your
I know. I really this is one of the second podcasts that I've done, but you can find it on my IG or my TikTok. I'm not a real big content person, but there's some cool stuff up there. Hopefully I can get like at least a recap video of what we've done on the ranch soon, but it would be Mariah Aaliyah _ on Instagram.
Excellent. All right. That brings us down to our last 2-minute warning here. If you could eavesdrop on any historical conversation, which would it be? You mentioned Harriet Tubman conversations. So I'm assuming you're a fan.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So if you're a fan, what's something about her that we don't know?
Yeah. Enlighten.
I think it's that she actually had to leave more people behind than she was able to bring with her.
Oh, that number is off.
The number,
it's
yeah,
lopsided that way.
Yeah. Other than that, like it's like that's pretty significant. You know, they've erased a lot of Harriet's history, but more so that there was more people she had to leave behind than she was able to actually free because people actually were comfortable where they were.
There's actually a lot of philosophy written about that.
Do you think it was more mental, that they were mentally locked in, saying that they're not really free, they're still enslaved mentally?
Yeah, absolutely. That there was absolutely a mental programming that they were under and why they were choosing not to walk to freedom when they had the ability. It was a long walk, but they had the ability. And I think that's more so what she stood for rather than helping slave free or helping free slaves. It was also that like
they didn't know.
Yeah.
You know how funny is that history repeats itself, right? And I wonder how many times, because the story that's in the Bible about when Moses took the Jews out of Egypt, they were all bitching and complaining that they should have stayed in Egypt.
Yep.
Really?
On the journey.
Yeah, that's crazy.
More comfortable.
They were like, hey, at least in Egypt, we weren't going to starve to death. You know, but it's not that they were starving to death, but they were led to believe sometimes like, hey, man, what are we going to eat?
Yeah.
What are
how will we survive?
Yeah, if we're in Egypt, we didn't have to worry about these kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but history repeats itself. You know, people were thinking those things in those times, you know, according to the Harriet Tubman conversations.
Yeah, that's my favorite historian. I don't know who's like, you know, else, honestly, who's as noble as her, to be honest. But that's like a Michelle Obama, but.
Swim with dolphins is a bucket list. You can actually sign up for that, or you gotta be like some lucky person on this planet to just.
I feel like you could do that in Turks. I don't know. It sounds nice.
I know it's illegal out here.
Is it really?
Yeah, you can't communicate with.
You cannot communicate with dolphins.
Why?
They'll take you to another realm.
Seriously?
No, dolphins is about that business.
Yeah,
they got dolphins about that business. A dolphin will rape you.
That's what, do you think they would attack us?
Yeah, they will. If it's sex season, yeah, they will.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they
know. Okay.
That's it.
This is a real thing.
Yeah,
they're the freaky in the sea.
And the podcast goes south.
Exactly.
Hey, only people communicating with dolphins are people at SeaWorld.
Yeah.
Nah,
I didn't know that was a thing.
I would swim with the dolphin though for sure.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a real thing. It's crazy.
Well, we'll scratch that off.
Hot air balloon. Hot air balloon. I want to go hot air ballooning.
Mission trip.
Oh my God, I would love to do a mission trip.
That one off.
A mission trip, yes.
Last question, Senorita. You do karaoke?
I do.
And then you like a song by Sam Cooke?
Oh, I love Sam Cooke.
Was
I answering these? Did someone else answer these for me?
Change Gonna Come.
I love that's old school. Yeah, I mean, I really like trap music too.
You got the microphone?
You like trap music?
I love trap music.
Yeah, where's
like I could also just like
you got the microphone?
Yeah, I got the microphone too.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Hey, she was ready for it. She was ready for it. Mariah.
Thank
you so much.
Yes, I'm so grateful. Thank you guys. Thank you guys. That was so dope.
Yeah.
Audience, wow, this was some great information and some worthy eavesdropping tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Tune in next week. And that's it for tonight. Peace out, guys.